Welcome to the Better Two podcast. I'm your host, Donna. Today's guest is Mark Waldoch from the Hallelujah Ward. Mark, well, we talk about music. We also talk a little bit about his past. And we talk about the fact that, sometimes when we try to be a brat or obnoxious, it ends up backfiring us and getting us even more attention than we realize. So tune in. So, hi,
Yeah,
Mark. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. We'll clear up this right now. You wanted some space, and yeah, because somebody might say that's a that you're in a hotel, and we've already had
Yeah,
this conversation. So
yeah.
yes, you're just relaxing and chilly,
I,
and
I only have my dumb little ear pods so I could look like that guy with hi. I could like hang back and then you could not see them.
but
Yeah,
it's fine. It's all good. I mean, the podcast is all about having fun and people getting to know
yeah,
you, and that's what we're
right.
doing.
We're here to entertain and
That's right.
inform.
That's right. Right. And
Uh,
inform, enlighten, and well,
and
sometimes
I
comedy.
mean, I'm the loosest, I'm the loosest definition of those words.
You are the singer
I
and
am.
and the guitarist
Yes,
of Hallelujah Ward. But
yes. The
you've
brand new band, the Hallelujah Ward.
yes, but you've had many incarnations as a singer
Uh-huh.
and many bands. But you're also a bartender. So I think that's partially where your sense of humor must come from because you're dealing
Oh,
with people all the time and some
yeah,
of them got to be
it
totally over
came
the
from a
top and
lot of
ridiculous.
things, you know. I moved from New York to Racine, Wisconsin, like a small town when I was really little, but so I still had that little like memory of a big city. And then I moved to Milwaukee, which is a much bigger city than Racine, but it's still like not even one fifth the size of Chicago.
It's
But
culture shock.
what called what?
Culture shock.
Oh, yes, culture shock. Yeah. Um, I mean, yeah, I remember we first moved to Racine. My brother and I were getting picked on by the other neighborhood kids, so our mom like put us in taekwondo classes. So we would like learn how to fight and defend ourselves. Because she was like, "I'm trying to raise these boys, and I have no idea how to do it." Um, but yeah,
Yeah, I
that was a
moved.
weird time of childhood and life.
Oh, I'm sure. For
Uh,
me, I went from New Orleans, which, that's a beautiful
yeah.
city, to at
Oh
16
yeah.
years old, or roughly 16, moving to Shreveport, Louisiana.
Shreveport. Oh wow.
And
I don't
Shreveport
know. I've
wasn't
never
then,
been there.
Shreveport was not the acting mecca it is now. Uh,
Yeah.
New Orleans still had blue laws up until I was like, I guess, which blue laws, if nobody knows, that's where you can't buy certain things. Hardware stores are closed, you can't buy alcohol,
Yeah.
all that stuff. Well, that had
Yeah.
already passed. But in Shreveport, you couldn't buy alcohol, you could on Sundays, you couldn't do this, you were supposed to
Yeah.
be at church. And yeah, it was very prim and proper back then. Not so much now, but back then,
Yeah.
yeah. So the talk about
There's
culture.
still there's still some small towns in Wisconsin that you can't buy alcohol on a Sunday. But you can for some reason buy a shotgun or a rifle still. I don't never understood that.
Well, and I don't
I'm
want to
not a
go.
gun person. I'm not a
No,
gun person.
but I often wonder is, and this and you've heard this comment before. At 18
Yeah.
you can sign up for the military and die for your country, but you can't go out
Yes.
and drink.
Right. Doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. Another one, like you go to Walmart, you can buy a shotgun, but you can't buy a CD with swear words on it.
Hmm.
Like they never ever at any point ever sold albums that had explicit lyrics. But you can buy shotgun shells
But
all you want.
Thank Tipper Gore for that because the
All right.
PMRC, that's,
Right. Yeah.
that was her big pet
See, your
project.
your memory is great. You remember Tipper Gore.
I wrote, okay, yeah, I'm gonna fess up here. So in college, my first round of college, I wrote a term paper on the PMRC. And
Okay.
I knew because I had the dean of the English department that she was not
Yeah.
going to read this paper. I knew this. So I created this paper and I fudged a lot of stuff and I mean just
Yeah.
added words. My typist, I was still short, so my typist added more words and guess what? I passed.
Oh, good
I
job.
think that's the only reason I remember that is because I wrote a term paper
Yeah.
and not a good way to kids don't do this at home, do your work, but at the time it was just kind of like, yeah.
Yeah.
No, the dean's not going to do it. Why bother?
I have a funny story about an assignment that when I was in like art class in middle school. It's kind of similar relation. But anyway, it was it was the 80s, and they were doing the art class had a competition where the teachers had to get all the students to do the same thing. But they had to make a piece of art that had something to do with the Statue of Liberty. Now, this is in Racine. I had already moved from New York to Racine, so um, there was no like mythos or anything to my thoughts of the Statue of Liberty. It was
Mm-hmm.
just the thing,
Right.
and so and they were repairing the Statue of Liberty at the time, like it had gone green, and they were spending all this money, so they were doing this like art project to generate awareness about it. Anyways, boring setup, but when we get to in class, the contest was like the winner of the art project they gets judged or whatever and wins a prize. And I thought it was stupid because I'm like, why do you want to do an art project about the Statue of Liberty? It's just another thing. I'm a little kid with
Right. Right.
when I was basically just being a brat. So I literally just like started drawing garbage, just like random crap, and then I wrote, "Do you care?" like I literally over the top, and they thought I was a fucking genius. They were like, "Oh my god, do you care? He's making a statement," and and I won. I got like $100 for like the as $100 is like a sixth grader. It's pretty
Oh
dope.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So yeah, I won the contest being a total like mocking the contest. And I didn't tell anybody. But
But
my adopted mom, my mom at that time, I had a second mom.
mhm,
That's a long story, but we'll
I know.
get to it if you want to.
Okay.
Um, but she saved that art piece for a long, long time, and I keep trying to find it, and I never can because I just want to like, as in my mind, I remember the story and how it happened so well, but I can't remember exactly what it looked like. I was just like draw shapes and just passing time in class. It was really dumb. But
Yeah,
anyway,
but I get why you won.
sometimes great art is made by making fun of everything.
Well, the thing
Um,
is, I'm sure what they saw was
but that was
this.
a great lesson to learn at a young age.
It
That like
was.
what your art you make has nothing to do with how people interpret it. Yeah,
Exactly. And the thing
yeah,
is, everybody's going to interpret it differently. I think why you won is because you had this hodgepodge, and that's all about the Statue of Liberty. And
right.
then the do you
Yeah,
care? I mean, it
right.
totally
Yeah,
makes sense.
they really did. I mean, they thought about it, and they're like, "This kid is a genius. He just doesn't know it." I had a friend who, last Saturday night, my drummer Dan Didier of the Hallelujah Word, he just had his 50th birthday, and his wife and friends decided to put together a talent show
Okay.
of all their friends, his very talented friends. It was an event. It was absolutely one of the most fun things I've ever done. Anyway, um, there's a young kid, it's a friend of mine's son who's like really into writing haiku, but he's like a middle schooler. So like, but he wrote a haiku about perimenopause, and it was like perimenopause, complain, whine, bitch, blah blah blah, no more period. That was the haiku, and I was like, this kid's a genius. like it's like no more period. That's 5 syllables. Perimenopause. That's 5 syllables. This kid has figured it out.
Yeah.
He's figured something out.
Yeah.
But and that was and I mean my contribution to the talent show was I I had to sing Seal's "A Kiss from a Rose."
Okay.
yeah, somebody that was one of Dan's favorite songs. It's a really ridiculous song. If you ever examine the lyrics on that song, um, you'll know that it's really weird. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Like
What? Go ahead.
no,
No, I mean that's the thing. I mean, I interviewed Lamal recently, and he's did a
yeah.
cover of "Horse with No Name," and so I'm
Oh,
look. I've known this song since I was a kid. This is
yeah. I
and then
haven't
I
paid much
realized.
attention to that one.
But you want to know something? It was banned in some radio stations in the '70s because horse was another name for heroin.
Oh, that's and so they thought it was right. That makes
Yeah,
sense. Yeah,
but actually, though, if you actually read the
yeah.
lyrics,
So
uh,
yeah, it makes sense.
yes,
It
it
might make
does.
sense.
It does.
Yeah, rent the desert horse in the
And
name.
another song that is questionable now that I used to love as a kid is "In the
Yeah.
Summertime."
Oh, like Mungo Jerry. Like
If
in the
you,
summertime
yeah,
when the weather's fine.
yeah, but
Yeah.
if you actually listen to the lyrics, it's like,
Yeah. Isn't it kind of cringe? like
Yes,
at
it's
parks. Yeah,
total
yeah.
because it's like it's bring her home and you know
Oh, right.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah, he's like having his way with, yeah, that's can't be good. It can't be
underage
good.
girls it seems and
Yeah. It's like it sounds
yeah.
more like an anthem for a Harvard frat or something
Yeah,
than
I'm
like
like but in the 70s it was a different time and we didn't think about
right.
those things. Now it's like
Um the guy in Mungo Jerry, I don't know his name, the singer, he had like just one of those amazing beards. And I always thought it'd be like a funny tag to just like have a silhouette of just the guy's beard from the cover. And you could just go around.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Something to do this summer, in the summertime.
In the
There you
summertime.
go. See, I
Yeah,
brought it back
yeah.
around.
Yeah, that nice full circle. Full circle is always good. So when I was researching, because Ray gives me some stuff too. He gave me that article
Yeah.
that was in Milwaukee, and I was kind of amused by the fact that you like to. You said your grandmother kind of inspired you for singing, even though I know you really hit it in church. But you talked about the fact.
Um, my not my grandmother.
Well,
My I don't.
that's what the article
Maybe
said.
maybe it's yeah. Maybe they messed up. But anyway, it
But
doesn't matter.
anyway, it was more
Sorry.
about you being in touch with the feminine side and repurposing female songs and making them your
Yeah.
own.
Yes.
So
Yeah. I'm a big.
what inspired you to do that?
Oh, I don't know so much really. I think. I mean, I guess the first music I ever like held or like as a child, it was two things. It was like a bunch of Elvis 8-track tapes. But
Okay.
um but the other 8-track tape was when that was the main one. That was the one that I like attached to was Connie Francis Best Of,
Okay.
and so it was like a woman's voice, and I was sort of like connected with that before any other music at all. But but then like the first record I bought the soundtrack to Grease.
That's cooler than
Um,
mine.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
mine
Well,
was in
I mean, I was obsessed with Olivia Newton-John,
oh
like
yeah.
everyone was. I mean,
Yeah.
the first boner I ever got was from Olivia Newton-John.
But
Just
see,
sorry,
no,
too much
no. Oh,
information.
please, please. I mean,
We're
I
here
was
to entertain.
what
Um,
I was gonna say though, look, my first one was the Mickey Mouse Club, and we're not talking the Britney Spears version. We're talking the
ooh, yeah.
1950s version of the Mickey Mouse
Ooh,
Club.
wow. So that was like black and white, lady
It was
boner.
an LP, and then I took it over to my friend's house and I dropped it, and like a chunk came out of it, and I was just like mortified because I spent my money
Yeah.
on this.
Yeah, that makes you mad. Makes you so mad.
But to go with
Yeah,
your Olivia Newton-John story, my dad had a
yeah.
copy of the physical album, and I borrowed it, and I'm like, "Hey, Dad, I'm just gonna borrow this." Okay. He never got it back. I still have it to this day. And my first concert was Olivia Newton-John. So
Really?
yeah,
Oh man, yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
Um,
But go ahead about your.
no, I was like whatever my journey to I don't know whatever. I mean like I was interested. I like the first 7 inch I had was Joan Jett. I Love Rock and Roll. I got those at Woolworths. Um, one of my best friends, he remember him telling me that was the first 7 inch he had too. I think everybody probably did, at that certain age.
Yeah,
If you were born in 1974 and you were a boy listening to music, at this certain age, you bought that
yeah.
because that's what was hip and cool. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I mean, I listened to everything, I could get my hands on, but I mean, I was drawn to like Susie and the Banshee, like Susie's voice at a
Nice.
young age
Yeah.
too. Um, and but I mean, like I think I probably discovered The Cure before I discovered Susie, but when I found out that Robert Smith had ties to that, and I was like, what? This is so cool. So, and then I mean later. I remember reading in an interview with Michael Stipe that he was obsessed with Patti Smith, and that's how I discovered Patti Smith was through an interview that I read with Michael Stipe or something when he was young. But it was also I was a big fan of you too, and they he had mentioned how was into Patti Smith, and so I was just like, okay, why are these guys talking about this person? And that's why I was in New York in the end of March. I went to see her tribute concert. That like,
Hmm.
did you hear about this or did
I
you see
heard
that?
about it.
Yeah, oh my God, it was insane. It was really really cool. Tons of different artists came and did renditions of songs, and then like maybe there were like actors reading from excerpts from books, reading
Nice.
poetry. I mean, it was a star-studded event.
She really
Yeah.
did influence a lot of people. I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
people will tell you, have her name listed in what was
Right.
inspiration.
Right. I always had a thing for Gilda Radner in SNL, and that there was that skit, that early skit from the early years SNL where she was pretending to be a singer that was sort of kind of like Patti Smith, and they're sort of taking the piss of her. But
It,
I always thought that was pretty awesome.
the one skit I remember by Gilda Radner, she was Rosanna Adana,
Oh
and she
yes,
was
yes,
talking
yes.
about clarets and
Um,
how they made your teeth green.
yeah, Clarette's right. I was like, yeah, there's some
Hmm.
like cough drops or whatever,
Yeah,
but they were, yeah, I
there were
remember
breath
those.
mints and they made your teeth. Yeah, and she
But
just
yeah,
went on and on. And of course, I'm not delivering it half any way, shape, or form like she did.
right, right.
But when you're a kid, I
She,
think I saw that when I was like 7, and it was one of those things where I was
mm,
like, wow, it stuck with
you
me.
made a connection to it, yeah,
Yeah,
it sticks with you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what my whole point was that I noticed that you covered Tide is High. You would kind of seek out these feminine songs and sing them. Are you still gearing yourself that way, or have you moved on to more just your own personal style?
No, I mean, I just said it. It's just part of my. I don't think it's anything different. It's just not. It wasn't like a conscious choice. It was just who I am.
Hmm.
Just like,
The
you know.
song
I mean,
resonated.
I grew up with three sisters. You know, like my high school job was a pharmacy. You know, tampons aren't a bad word. You know, I keep them in my. I'm a bachelor, lives alone, but you keep them in your apartment because women are half the population. So like, you have to take care of each other. It's very basic shit. You know, it's like,
Uh-huh.
you know, but you'd be surprised how many guy friends I have that would never even think about,
I,
that,
my
you know,
my first husband would not have
you know,
he that would have been a nasty word.
yeah.
That would have been
Like, I'm
something.
losing all my hair, but I have scrunchies in my bathroom if you need one,
Hey, you know?
that's how that goes. That's how that goes.
Yeah. I mean, you keep products because yeah, you never know who's going to be over, and sometimes things just
Yeah.
happen to start.
Man, maybe I'm just a Boy Scout too. Like, I don't know. I was never actually a Boy Scout. I always thought that was weird.
I never was a Girl Scout either. I never,
Yeah.
but here's the thing, looking at what I've read about you and stuff,
Mm.
and even your art project there, you kind of
Yeah.
march to the beat of your own drum. It's like you don't
I
sit there and try
I
to
think
go,
that's a fair assessment. Um,
there's nothing wrong with that though. I
yeah,
mean, we need more individuals because I think part of the problem is we try to conform so much and it doesn't make us happy,
no,
you know? I mean, think about all the things that we're told that we should, especially as women and even guys now. You're supposed to have a certain hairstyle. Well, you're losing your hair. You should have hair plugs. You're doing this. You're getting older.
yeah,
You need all these creams and you need these injections and you need what?
yeah. It's honestly, yeah. Like, you're not gonna live longer if you
No,
look younger.
no, no. I mean,
Yeah.
and
There's a weird point though, part when you get to a certain age where you're just like, all you're really doing is just trying to figure out how to live longer. Like, that's really your only job as a human at some point.
I
I mean,
think
it sounds
I
weird.
no,
Like, you
it's
gotta you gotta like fight that mentality though, or in order to have joy, no matter what life throws at you.
I mean,
Yeah.
I had that moment earlier this year because when I got my diagnosis, it was kind of like, oh crap, what
Yeah.
now? Because, and then of course, everything going on in the world at the same time. It's like,
That's a shit sandwich.
no.
That's like it's like a double stuff shit
Yeah.
sandwich right
I was
there.
just
It's not
like,
even.
on the operating table,
Uh,
I might have an exit if I wanted to take it, but do I really want to take it?
yeah, you're not ready for that.
Because I know,
What
go
can
ahead.
I don't know any specifics, but what are you battling? What is it okay to
I
ask?
had endometrial cancer that um,
Okay.
went into my lymph node.
Okay.
So right now I started chemo about 3 weeks ago, and it's kind of so far because
Yeah.
according to the doctor, I have two oncologists. I have the one in Madison and the one down here,
Oh well.
and the one down here, he's like, you're just gonna end up being exhausted. You're gonna be sick for the first 3 days, and then you're gonna be exhausted like 10 days later, and then okay. My other one's
Yeah.
like, you're gonna be exhausted the first couple of days, and then you'll be fine.
Right.
And
Everybody
that's
they
how I
want to
am.
prepare you for the worst,
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
mean,
the thing is sometimes these doctors they tell you this just ridiculous shit to make it like seem it's going to be so much worse in order to make you like be like, oh, that's not so bad. I don't know.
The most ridiculous shit was the day, and my dad lives in New Orleans where he can't hear, so we text occasionally. The day of my first
Yeah.
chemo treatment, he messages me and says, I, with this meme and a couple other things, he's like, really, you need to look into this. It's ivermectin and something else
Oh
instead of
no.
chemo. And I'm just like,
Oh no.
you know,
I
if I did, then how do I do this tactfully?
Dad,
So I was like, Dad,
Dad,
you
you gotta
know,
stop watching Fox.
if it hadn't gone into my lymph node, I might think about that, but considering that this could spread into my other lymph nodes in my blood and my bone marrow,
Yeah.
I think I'm just gonna take the tried and
Yeah.
true. We're not gonna go,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, but
Oh man.
yeah, I'm just like I'm looking at this going, and he's like, sorry, I even brought it up, and I'm just like,
Like, no. It's just that's not gonna do it.
well, and here's something really weird. I was watching Dr. Odyssey, and they were yes, don't
Yeah.
ask me why, but I was
I
watching
don't know who
Dr.
that
Odyssey.
is.
It is a Joshua Jackson cruise ship thing with Don Johnson. It's a TV show,
Oh.
and he plays a
Okay.
doctor. So
Oh. So
something
it's like a
happened,
fiction.
right? Something happened on the boat, and the week before last, they were talking about shingles. Don Johnson allegedly had shingles, and they're like, "Oh, just sit in the hot tub," and I'm like, "Shingles is freaking contagious. What the fuck? You know,
Right. Yeah,
I've had it.
yeah.
This is
I'm pretty sure that's like a cooking, like a petri
exactly."
dish.
So then this last week, they're like, "Well, da
Human
da da da.
petri
He's
dish.
got parasites. Well, he should use ivermectin." Just like,
Oh my
what?
God.
No.
It's like bleach. Use bleach. Inject bleach. That'll
No,
do it.
I don't. Sometimes
Mm.
I think it's like, did we jump a timeline? Did we, did
Yeah.
something get screwed up somewhere and we ended up with this? I
Yeah.
don't
It's
know.
some weird it's I don't know. I think so. Yeah, I think we're like and all of those, like in Hot Tub Time Machine 2 where they explain how the I don't
I,
know why I just
no,
referenced Hot Tub Time Machine 2. But but it's like time split and now we're in this alternate universe and we
yes,
have to get back to the original one.
yes.
But that's we're all living. We're living in one of those split ones right
Well, come
now.
on.
We're not. We're not.
Who would
We're
have,
not living the correct life.
who would have thought Biff would have been president?
Nobody. Never. Never. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Um. I mean, obviously, the first Back to the Future is the best, but between 2 and 3, do you have a favorite? Do you prefer one over the other?
I want it. I'm
I'm
kind of
curious.
one. I'm just kind of. I like
Yeah, one
one,
is good enough. Yeah.
but
Okay.
when I
I
look
mean,
at
but like one is always the best. But do you have a
my
care for
my
either of
my
the other ones?
my late hubby loved the movies, and we were
Yeah.
rewatching it. And when I saw the Biff thing as he was president and everything, I was just like, we weren't watching
So
it.
ridiculous.
Trump had not been elected yet, and I should not have said his name. But anyway,
Yeah.
he had not been elected yet, and it was just like, oh my God, he looks like Trump. What
It's
the hell?
exactly Trump. Yeah. It is
Yeah.
exactly what happened with Trump. Yeah.
And
I
just the
mean,
whole apocalyptic view of what's going on in the world. It's like,
right. Yeah. The
okay.
world is becoming more and more like Back to the Future too.
Now, if you asked me
I
what
think,
my favorite Star Wars movie from the original trilogy was, I can tell you that.
ah, I'm going to guess it was Empire Strikes
Of
Back.
course, of course.
Yes. That's because of your age. I
Yeah,
could tell we were both in Duran Duran. We're both into Duran Duran. And Empire is easily is my jam too. That's the
yeah.
one. That's
And
the one.
if you
Had
look
the most heart,
if you
you
look
know?
behind me, you can see Leia and you can see
Oh, sure.
Darth
There we are.
Vader. Yeah.
Darth
So,
Vader.
yeah. I even have my Star Wars mug over
Excellent.
there and my Fonzie
Is
mug
that
over there.
Snuffleupagus back
Yes,
there?
it is
No, it is.
Snuffleupagus. Yes. Yes,
Fuck
and Wonder
yeah.
Woman's back there and yeah. I have all
It's
sorts
a
of stuff.
Funko. I can't tell who it is though.
Oh, that's Wonder Woman.
Oh, okay. Sweet,
Yeah.
sweet.
So yeah, I mean, but I think that pop culture, Ray and I had a conversation about this, about how fandom is not the same as it used to be.
Yeah,
And that's the thing. It's like before, when your Cure record came out or your Duran record came out or in Excess, you were there, you
yeah.
wanted it, you had it, and that was going to be on your playlist for a long time.
Right. And you would listen to it over and over 1,000 times right away.
Hmm.
Now, people, kids just still do that, but they were streaming the same thing over and over. It's not. I mean, it's not quite the same. They don't listen to a whole album. They don't care so much about hearing every song on the new Gaga record. They want to hear the one song that they heard.
Right.
But that was the case with a lot with average music listeners our age too, though.
Hmm.
You know, it's like they wanted to hear the single. They were rushing. They were fast forwarding on their tape to get to that song. They weren't. I mean, like it's the true music lovers and listeners, the disc jockeys, the journalists, the musicians that listen to every song and obsessed over it. You
But
know.
it's not just about that though. It's like, okay, Taylor Swift is the one that you can't really lump in. When you look
Mm,
at people nowadays, you
yeah.
don't have the fandom. I mean, like back in the
Yeah.
day when I was in high school, they had these things called friendship books. And they were Duran friendship books.
Uh,
And like you would get five in the mail from some Duran fan and you're supposed to fill it out and forward it on. And this
oh,
was like a
I
friendship book.
remember those. I remember those now.
You don't have those things
Yeah.
now because we have the internet
Yeah.
and we don't have, I mean, I had pen pals
Right.
from all over the world. And granted, I could do that now with the internet, but it was the thing of
Yes.
going to the mailbox and opening it up and,
Yeah, the excitement of like the journey of finding and meeting people who are
hmm.
into the same thing you are.
And even
Yeah,
like what we were talking about before we got on air with you, you going to that show and here are these people that you become friends with, even if it's sometimes they last longer than that moment, but you become this unit of people that connect and
yeah,
you talk and
yeah.
yeah.
It's a great sense of like instant community,
I
you know,
mean,
when when you have a shared love.
oh yeah. I when John Taylor played Tower Records, well, he didn't play Tower
Mm,
Records. He was at Tower Records. He was doing a show at the House of Blues. I had met him prior, and I'm standing in line with these girls, and my friend who I was with, she's like, "I'm gonna go outside." I'm like, "Okay, fine." So these two girls, one has blue hair, so she's like super cool and everything, and there's some people in front of us, and the girl looks at me and she goes, "Have you ever met him before?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Yeah, my friend." I said, "Have you?" And she's like, "No, my friend has, but he never remembers her. She's met him several times and he never remembers her at all." And I'm like, "Okay." I said, "I doubt he's going to remember me." So I turn around and we're still talking back and forth. The girls
yeah,
move. John sees me and he looks at me across the room. He points at me in the middle of Tower Records and says, "You, I know you. I've met you before." And I'm just like,
yeah,
uh, okay. But the fact of the matter is, these people that I was hanging out with, I ended up becoming friends with.
yeah,
We stayed in contact afterwards. But had I not had that moment, I don't know if that would have been the case.
yeah. Right.
So,
That's. Oh. I mean, and also, you know, anytime you're in the same room as John Taylor, everything's going to be a little more exciting.
well, maybe, maybe not. You never
Maybe
know.
not.
Maybe
I
not.
don't know. I think so. I mean,
It
it's
all
pretty
depends on
hot.
it all depends on what mood the person's in.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Right.
But
I
I mean
guess I
that
never thought of it that way.
it's well, that's the thing. I mean, when you talk about celebrity, some people they look at celebrity and like, and I mean, you have a different perspective because you're a bartender, and I'm sure you've had celebrities come to the bar.
Yeah.
But most
Yeah.
people
I
look.
mean, like, yeah.
Go ahead.
It's not even the bar. I mean, like, I've been to a lot of music festivals, like behind the scenes and stuff, playing, or like I was a guitar tech for
Right.
a band once that did a lot of touring and stuff. So like I met a lot of people that I mean like not like insane celebrity, but like medium indie rock mid
Hmm.
level celebrity guys. I worked for my friend Chris, who was a guitar player in a band with Justin Vernon from Bon Iver. He's
Okay.
a big name right now because he just released a record. Um, that whole experience of touring with them for a couple of years was pretty wild because I'd never been backstage at festivals or anything like that up until this point. But I mean, it's like I remember one day, like in the same 2 hour period, we checked into a hotel, and Charles Bradley checked in before me, and I ended up in the elevator with him. And then at lunch, an hour later, I was sitting next to Kim Gordon and Annie Clark, and I was just like, "This is insane." And then, you got to remind yourself that like this is just people
Yeah.
doing their job
Yeah.
and living their life. But I mean, like it's not. It was novel at the moment, to be like Kim Gordon just told me my shoes look cool. Like
Hmm.
I was like thinking to myself, but having a casual conversation about the croissants.
but that's
with
the
somebody
yeah.
whose music you've listened to for 25 years,
That's the
Um,
thing. It's like when you look at when you realize that they're just normal people and you're going to talk to them about normal things, and sometimes
mm,
they're,
yeah,
because everybody's like, don't meet your idol. Well, if your idol's having a bad day, you have to consider they're
yeah.
having a bad day. It
No, man,
happens.
it's not even that. It's like, this is it was. I mean, just remembering that they're just fucking people.
Yeah.
Like I had to use the fucking same bathroom stall at the Canadian border right after Justin Vernon, and I was like, oh man, that was a nasty shit. That smells fucking horrible. You're just as disgusting as everyone else. Um, I had to use the same stall. It was. I'm glad. I wish I had gone in first, and left him that. No, anyway,
If you
but
had
yeah,
a
you
little
get the
poopery,
point. Everybody shits.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It's like the celebrity has more money and they have a cool job, but they have a lot of the same freaking problems we do.
No, they have all the same problems, and they're exponentially worse,
Yeah.
actually, in some ways.
Hmm.
And they have
Especially now.
a whole different. You need a whole different skill set to deal with them, or you'll make yourself crazy and go nuts.
Well, and especially
And
now.
paranoia. I can only imagine the anxiety and paranoia coupled with um, fame on that level.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Even now, it's even worse because now, oh wait, you look like crap. I'm going to get a picture. I'm going to take a picture. I'm going to record you.
Yeah.
There's all
Well,
these.
one of my closest friends is a tour manager. I'm not going to say the name of the person he's working for,
No,
but
that's fine.
it was just like um, the guy, the singer of this band was like in his hotel room, and he like calls the tour manager. He's like, "Can you go down to the lobby and get me these things? 'Cause I don't want to go down there." But I mean, like on one hand, he's being a total baby and making somebody else do his shit for him. On the other hand, it's like he just doesn't want to have to deal with maybe running into somebody and
Right.
having to have a conversation. And that's a totally normal thing to feel and have, to just be like, I want to live my life without having to worry about talking to someone right now. It's not that I don't, I'm not grateful. It doesn't mean you're not grateful for knowing people and having the adoration of unnamed faces. It's about, I just want to go to Target and buy a fucking, case of LaCroix and some new underwear and be left alone. But I can't do that because I'm going to run into 10 people. And it's not that I'm not grateful for those people. I just want to get my underwear and my LaCroix and go home, you know,
Well,
and then go on,
Robbie Williams just came out with a whole thing about this, about, yeah, sometimes you just want to be you. You don't want the photographer, you don't want the camera, you don't want people coming
right.
up to you. You just want to have a meal with your partner. You just
Of
want to have a
course.
meal with your family.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just, it's, oh my gosh, you know,
Yeah.
and that's a hard thing. But we didn't come here to talk about
Let's
celebrity.
let's not talk about celebrity. Fuck them. Sorry.
So you
Let's
have a
make
song.
me one. Let's see what I just kidding. Let's make me one.
Well, you never
This is a
know.
joke world.
You
Just so
never
you know,
know
that
when
was a
it's,
joke.
you never know. You never know. You might win the
Mm.
lottery tomorrow,
I mean, that's a real wrangle. I bet.
Well, I mean, here's the
What do
thing.
you?
You win the big money, and either if you have to take it where you announce who you are, well, then you're
Yeah.
going to have everybody after you. And if you take it a lot,
Yeah. Well, the first thing I do two things. You get the money, you smash your phone, and and then you get a new one, and then you just start, connecting with the people who you already know and trust. Because
hmm
anyone else who's trying to contact you, that's I mean,
hmm
like I can count on one hand the number of people I would call right away. My sister, two
yeah,
friends, my bandmates. Yeah. I probably wouldn't even tell my parents right away.
no,
I
no,
love them,
because
but
they would have an
I'd be
idea
like,
of,
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. I'd just be like, I would want to surprise them with something cool, so I wouldn't tell them right away. I'd be like, boom, your
but you
house is paid off.
realize you surprise them, and they're going to be like, you shouldn't have done that. You should be watching your money.
Yeah, yeah, maybe.
And you're like,
I should have been doing that for the last 30 years,
yeah,
and I haven't done it well enough, and that's why I'm still paying rent. I'm paying
yeah,
a mortgage and rent, just to live.
understand.
Like what we're gonna do. Let's not go there because I'll just start
Okay, we won't go there.
complaining.
We won't go there. So You have a song out called Your Uncertain Shadow. What was the inspiration for that?
Yes, the first song on the album that comes out May 30th. The album's called Everybody Swoons. It was almost called Death Swooned, but I always liked the phrase. I had the phrase Everybody Swoons as an idea or as a lyric for a really long time, long before it became the title of the record. But that's the song that you're asking about, Your Uncertain Shadow. Is actually I lifted the name from an art piece
Okay.
that I saw. It was um, there's an artist named Olafleur Eliasson. He it has this has nothing to do with like the song meaning or lyrics or anything like
You
that,
just
but
took the name.
I just like I use the name and put it use it within the lyrics and in the story of the song. But I mean, like even the art, the installation, it was like the album cover, which I don't have. Maybe you can like interject a picture.
I can.
Um, um, that the image on there is it's like there are words on it, but the photo is really undoctored. It looks like it's fake, but it's an actual real photo from this art installation. Oliver, he had like this like he's always like toying with color and light and stuff in this particular thing, but this specific installation, he would take four different spotlights and then flood them with white light. And so what it would do is on the wall, on a white wall behind it, it would create four different colored shadows. And then
Okay.
as you walked in front of the spotlights, it would it would have immediate eye candy to play
Okay.
and so I started taking photos and I was just like these are absolute gold. Every single picture I take in front of this is beautiful, and it ended up being the artwork for the record.
Nice.
um, um, but yeah, but back to your original question, that song, I mean, like the music of it started out long before I had any words or anything. I just kind of like liked this melody, and it started, but it was only just four chords, and then it turned into a arpeggiated guitar part, and it didn't really become intense until it was something I tried to put drums and bass behind, and the other guys brought that part to it. Um, yeah, but like the song and the lyrics and stuff started with it was more about me trying to like it was just more of like a lamentation, thoughts about um, suicide, and but what it does to coincidentally about celebrity. What it, I mean, like, but the thing is, it's like it's a common feeling that everybody feels, whether you're a celebrity or not. I have plenty of mental health, and I had lots of suicidal thoughts younger. Um, it's like you still have them from time to time, but it's not. I've managed them now.
Hmm.
Um, but that the song it started about thinking about. I mean, like it all started with the line. Uh, it's like I had. I'm trying to remember exact. I want to take it out of context, but I can only remember the lyrics starting from
Okay.
finish.
Yeah, I know.
Um, but the lyric oh my God, why is my brain not working right now? Um, I have no I have no there there's no ovation that no ovation can fill. Like the idea of um, like there's nothing there's no like
There's nothing that will fill the void.
yeah, there's nothing that will fill that void. There's nothing that can fill the void.
My mother
Um,
committed suicide.
yeah, you
So,
understand.
yeah, I
You
understand
get I
completely.
like the destruction of it.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, nine times out of ten, that's the easiest way for me to stop thinking about it. Just like, what would this do to my nieces?
Well, that's the thing
Like
that
what
nobody.
would this do to my sister and sisters? I just kind of,
But see,
it's
that's
kind of
that's
nuts.
because you can still pull yourself back. With my mother, she would.
Sometimes you can't.
Yeah, she would
You
not. I
know.
mean, my mom got so bad, and I talked about this on the very first episode I did of the show, because I used to do a better two moment. I
Mm,
talked about her death because it's like if I'm going to make other people be vulnerable,
Yeah.
then I have to be
You got to
vulnerable.
be able to talk. Yeah.
And my mom, I mean, my mom about 5 months before she died, and she hadn't moved yet, she would call me like every day, and she's like, "I'm going to go. I want you to come back home," because she was in Shreveport and I was in Dallas at the time. "I want you to come back
Yeah.
home, and I want you to find me in the shower. I'm going to shoot myself, and I want you to find me."
Uh,
And I just said to her, I said, "If you loved me, you wouldn't ask me to do that."
yeah.
Because I mean, and I told my stepfather because
Yeah, but you
technically,
lose all ability to
yeah,
love anyone
oh, I know,
when you
I know,
can't
but
tolerate being alive.
every day she would call, and I told my stepfather all this,
Yeah.
and ultimately, after she moved, he didn't get rid of the gun,
Mm,
and so here we are. But that was, I
yeah.
mean, that was 30, 40 years ago almost.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where the answer you know what you were saying about you have to look at the other people that are left because
Yeah, and what you're
suicide,
doing
yeah.
to them.
And I mean, I understand it's a pain, but if you can get help for it, that's where the gift is. You
Yeah.
have to find a way to find those find the help that you need. That way it
Yeah.
becomes bearable.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people feel like they have nothing in their life to lean back on. That's not true. Everyone's got something, and for me, it's always been singing. It's been a great source of frustration, but it's also been the greatest source of joy and love in my life, without a shred of a doubt. Um,
Well, that's like doing going through the cancer. One thing, one thing I have to say, and Ray said, well, what can I do for you? He's like, if you don't want to, I'm like, no, don't stop the podcast. Don't stop me
mhm.
interviewing people because I love doing this. This is part of who I am. And
Yeah,
if I don't have this, then what do I have?
it's a joy, and that's a
Hmm.
fun thing, right? Exactly.
Right.
That's
So,
important.
yeah.
I mean, like, do that as much as you can. I always think, and I one time I had a polyp, or like it ended up being a broken blood vessel that caused a cyst to growth on my
Hmm.
vocal cord. But I had a growth on my vocal cord, so until they figured out what it
Panic,
was,
panic, panic. Yeah.
I assumed the worst.
Yeah.
And then thinking about losing the one thing that you love the most.
Hmm.
Um, but I also I had carpal tunnel surgery in both wrists from playing guitar for so long, and now I'm losing control of a certain thing in my finger, but due to like a pinched nerve in my neck. It's just like, you can't stop those things from happening. But like, and then the threat of losing something you love is always imminent, and it's and sometimes I wonder if like those little threats are just preparing you for the inevitable fact that it will absolutely happen someday.
Well, and
You know,
I think you make a good
it's
point.
not, you know,
You make a good point because when you think about what you had said earlier about, where that moment that makes you just want to keep living,
yeah.
as in our 20s and our 30s, we think we have the balls, the world by the balls. We're
Right.
invincible. We're not
Well,
going to
you're
get
not,
this. We're not
yeah,
going
you're
to do
not
that.
conditioned to
Yeah.
worry about as much
And when
because your
somebody,
body.
sorry,
No, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, when somebody tells you, you know, you need to start doing this and you need to start doing that and you need to start doing this, you just basically go like that and go, yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'm better than that.
I wish I had had a little more of that. I mean, but like in an effective way, not in a condescending. You need to do this. I
Yeah.
need someone's like, no, you need to do this. This is why. Like I wish I had had more of that certainly when it comes to like uh, saving money and
Hmm.
things like that. Like, because I'm like, being 50 and not seeing a foreseeable way to ever retire. Like that's just really not a possibility for me. I'm never
I,
going to be able to do that.
I get it. And I
Um,
mean, I think
unless I got lucky or something,
I
which
don't
is
think,
not sitting around waiting for that.
but I think the problem is the generation that came before Gen X kind of was like, yeah, we made all this, we have all this, and they didn't
Yeah,
add
well,
to,
and they still think that.
yeah,
Look, the state of the world
yeah,
is the fucking late stage last breath of the fucking
capitalism.
desperate the last breath of the boomer. I
Hmm.
mean, it really is. It's just like, well, we still have it perfect. Our entitlement's still intact. as long as it's sickening.
I have a
Sorry.
friend whose mother is a boomer, and she's like, her computer died, and she's like telling my friend, well, I'm just terrified of my information being stolen. My data may be stolen. And I'm thinking, maybe she should turn off Fox News and see what Doge has been doing, because maybe she'd realize
Yeah,
that it's already
yeah,
done.
yeah. You enabled
Yeah.
it. Your vote enabled it,
I always,
and then
I just, I don't understand.
yeah,
And I mean, I think I understand that Gen X and everybody else, it's like we are now in this soup of how do we move forward and what are we going to have left?
hmm
And we are teetering on this whole realm. And I know you most likely, I mean, I studied the Holocaust in America in
yeah,
history class. And I thought back then, I was like, how the hell do we get there?
yeah. And then it's
Yeah.
literally happening
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. So, and I mean,
In like yeah, in the fucking modern age. It doesn't
yeah,
make sense.
no, it
There's no way
doesn't.
to safeguard against human greed.
No. And that's what
And
I,
the desire for like I just don't understand. I just don't have it in me. I don't understand it.
no,
That like the need for control over other people.
yeah,
What why is that attractive?
I don't know.
Why do people like that? Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. And I look at it, it's like if I, I look at women that go back and say, and I'm sorry if this offends anybody, but I look at women that are like,
Mm,
oh, well, I don't think women should have the right to vote. What the fuck?
yeah. Uh,
Do you not
it's men
real?
it's absolutely mental. Yeah.
Yeah. And why? And my
But I
husband,
mean, like in my lifetime, women weren't allowed to have a credit card
no.
until I was like till like 50 years ago.
Hmm.
Like that's insane.
Hmm. Yeah.
In my lifetime,
Yeah.
uh, you know, and I'm not that old. I'm middle aged.
I know. I mean, my,
There's like fewer years ahead than behind, most likely. You
hmm
know,
and I mean, that's the thing.
um,
It's like people don't really think about that civil rights and women's rights
yeah,
are a newer thing than what they were.
yeah.
And I
I
mean,
always wonder. I'm sorry to interrupt,
go
but I
ahead.
always wonder, like we were talking about how you just like kids giving the finger to listening to older people. I wonder if when like Gen Z kids listen to the conversations we're having about being older, I wonder um, if they care or think about it at all.
No.
Probably not. But
I
I
mean,
don't know.
here's an interesting thing. Okay, so while I sit here and give the finger, I also did pay attention though because my grandmother told me how to make red beans and rice from scratch. My grandmother taught me
Yeah,
things that how to
right,
bargain shop. So there's
right.
certain
Yeah, my mom
things.
taught me how to cook.
So yeah, so you understand there's
I
certain.
resented her for years though, because it was like I had five brothers and sisters, and I was always the one she was asking to cook with her on Sunday. We'd make the meals for the whole
Hmm.
week. We had a family of eight, so it was like hard to get it all together. And the only way we could do it is we planned Saturday you grocery
Right.
shop, Sunday after church we made the meals for the week, and then I would, it's like but I was doing the heavy lifting of like helping my mom do the chores for the family. I think at the time, she was asking me to do it because because I wouldn't say no.
Hmm.
That's what I thought. But then she'd say, "Well, no, you were good at it." I'm like, "Yeah," but I wouldn't say no because I felt like I had to,
But
because you asked,
but
you
here's
know.
the thing is you also got to learn valuable skills where the other people maybe
But
got. Yeah.
that's my actual point was, it equipped me for the world way better than either of my brothers or my sister, one of my sisters. Yeah,
So I do want to talk a little bit about you went from New York to Racine, and
yeah, that was like the '80s with my biological mother and my biological brother.
has that bled into any of your songwriting and
It's funny, not directly, not like I wasn't like, okay, I had this experience, I'm going to try to write about that experience. I don't, that never really, that never really happened. That never really happened. I've never tried to be like, I'm going to try to write a song about my mother. Like,
hmm
um, it's just because I me trying to execute that concept isn't going to make for an interesting song or a colorful prose or anything like that.
understand.
the way lately that I approach to make lyrics more interesting is you add and interject the emotion, the power, and the feeling after you find turns of phrase that tickle your creative spark or interest you. Like I keep a file in my phone. Whenever I hear something in conversation, or I read in a book, or I hear a dialogue in a movie, a phrase that sparks my interest, that is then I add it to this file in my notes in my
Okay.
phone because that's where I'm going to find inspiration from later when it comes to like fill out and write song lyrics for a song. But I prefer to do music and melody first, only because then the music's going to be better. There are a
Hmm.
lot of people who are just like they come at you with like 20 pages of lyrics and then they don't have any ideas. I feel like I can make the lyrics happen, and I'm less. I'm I'm very hard on myself about them being good, but the melody has like memorable, hooky, catchy melody has always come easier to me.
Okay.
I've never had to question it as much. Whereas the lyrics, I have to question it. So I like that process. I have to do it, add it to the music in order to make it good. You know, it's like I don't know. It's sort of like you like people who have a reference photo. They draw a sketch
Hmm.
of the photo before they start painting the colors and choosing the colors. Like the music is the canvas and the sketch and the image, but you know the lyrics will be how it's finished.
Hmm. That makes sense.
Um,
It makes total
I don't
sense.
know.
And I
I
have
mean,
to
a lot. So
go ahead.
many people do it differently, but
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 that's the thing. Everybody's got
you
their own
know,
process. I mean, I'm a
yeah,
writer, and can I sit here and say I write books in order? Oh, hell no. I've gotten something for a book that's book six of a series, and bits here from book two, and
yeah,
it's your process. And I wanted to comment real quick because I know we're going to be wrapping up shortly, but the fact of the
yeah.
matter is you were talking about art and how you had that whole project. And from what I was reading, you kind of did the same thing when you started singing in church.
Oh yeah,
You kind of
oh
were
yeah.
like, I'm gonna
Yes,
be.
my behavior of defiance has been an overarching theme in my life. Like yeah, being singing in church. That was like that story is. Um, I my when I moved to Racine and my mother passed, but then I was adopted by this other family who I call my family now. That family took me to church with them religiously, like regularly, and I'm sorry, my screen just did something. But yeah, that the story goes, they were like, you need to sing along in church, you know, like the music's here, those are the words, listen to the melodies. And that's when I realized that I had a knack for it compared to all my brothers and sisters. I knew I could sing in key and along to things. It just like snapped for me a little bit easier. But when I found out that I could sing loud was in church because I decided to be a brat and be in like it's like, oh, you want me to sing, fine. And so I sang super loud, but then you know everybody around me, all the parents and all the other congregation is like, oh, he's got the spirit of Jesus in him, you know. It's like like bullshit. I was being a brat, you know. But then I had to become an acolyte, get confirmed and all that stuff. I mean, we all have our past.
Yeah, yeah. How do I used to joke that I went to a Catholic kindergarten, private school for most of my life because that's my
Mm,
now I look back it's why my mom put me in private school and it's not the best reasons.
yeah.
But then I went to Lutheran school and then I went to a
Oh
Catholic high
wow.
school and my stepfather was Jewish, although he wasn't practicing, and I was baptized
Yeah.
Methodist. I'm like,
Wow.
damn it there.
Yeah.
But I'm
The
not
real melting pot.
I don't really practice. I really don't practice because I believe in
Yeah.
other things and it's like, you
That's
know.
the thing about religion is a melting pot I mean like America is a melting pot. I was listening to somebody, I don't know who it was, but they were talking about elections in Canada. I think it was like NPR the other day. And they were talking about how Canada is a mosaic of all these different people and cultures, and
Mhm.
that they respect those people and cultures to stay true to what they are. And but America is a melting pot where you dump all those things together and it's all one. You have to assimilate and do this one thing. But I mean, like you could say the same thing about religion, anything. It's like Americans want you to. It's like it's a melting pot. We just dump all these religions, but you know, if you're not Christian, and it's not because that's the most important one, you know, that's the
Oh,
one that our forefathers came over here with. I mean, it's a bunch of trash. It's
I
I don't know.
I had a I so I released a second book. It's no longer out. I'm working on
Mm.
it. But in it, I had the creation story basically with Osiris and Isis. And I have a friend
Oh,
who is very super religious, and so she's reading the book,
yeah,
and she was reading the before I released it. She was reading it, and I'm like, so I cut the story short. She's like, wait, what is this? And I'm like, it's Osiris and Isis. It's the legend, the mythology about them.
yeah,
But that sounds like the creation story. I'm like, yeah. She goes, you need
yeah.
to expand
Where do you
this.
think the creation story came from?
Exactly. She's like, you
Yeah,
need to expand this. And I'm like, okay.
yeah.
And I think that's the thing. We want to be so hardcore. I had an argument with my dad, who's never been religious, about Christmas trees and that it was really a pagan thing. And he's like, you're wrong. I'm like, this is not the same thing as
Yeah,
Rudolph the reindeer coming from Montgomery Ward's
right,
dad. It's not the
right,
same.
right.
But yeah, yeah. So
Well,
it,
how information was traveled through time from one generation to the next is so different now. I mean, like now that everything is recorded and saved, it's like, will it change how history repeats itself?
wait. Okay, so my friend who is on the borderline of Gen X millennial, she tells me yesterday, she goes, there's a new Mandela effect. I'm like, okay. The Mandela
Mm.
effect is Ed McMahon was never part of Publishers Clearinghouse.
Yeah,
I'm like, he was. I
he
remember.
he just did the commercials.
Yeah, no, they say he had no part in it. He had no commercials, nothing.
Wait, who handed the checks out? Wasn't that him?
No, they're saying it's we're imagining it wrong. We are imagining it. That
Oh,
did not
oh,
happen. I'm like,
that's
I remember
interesting.
that.
I thought I did. Yeah, I thought that was Epic Man.
Well,
I
it's the
can't
whole
remember.
Kazam thing, or Shazam
Yeah,
with Sinbad. I mean, there's things that.
yeah,
So maybe we did branch timelines.
I think so. I
Maybe
think,
we need the
yeah,
TBA.
yes, dude. Yes, Loki and Hot Tub Time Machine and Back to the
Yes,
Future. It's
yes.
just, I mean, we're,
Jane, stop this crazy thing.
it's something. Something's happening.
Anyway,
Uh,
I am sure we could talk longer, but I don't want to take up all your day.
yeah,
So,
I
what
mean,
is there
yeah.
anything? Is there anything that we have not covered that you would like to add?
I mean, I can't think of anything specifically on top of my head. I really to talk about the music and the band and why I'm here is because I'm a singer in a band called the Hallelujah Word. I love this record. I love how it looks. I love how it sounds. I love how it turned out. It deserves an audience, and I don't think I've ever felt that way about. There are plenty of records and bands that I've been in the past that I was like I wanted people to hear it, but I never felt like it deserves to be heard
Gotcha.
like I do with this particular thing. Um, it sounds a weird thing to say, but I don't know if it is or it isn't. I just um, it means more to me than anything ever has before. It's better than anything I've ever done. Um, so it's just really exciting. I want people to hear it. I want people to find something they connect in it. I mean, my whole goal with music has always been, and I say this all the time, but it's like I don't know if I can like express the gravity of it, but it's just like what those records and that music meant for me in my youth. The Smiths records and Cure records and like what the music did, what it provided for me when I was going through losing my mom and all of those things, like being feeling lost and all of those teenage life and dreams, the growing up years, even when you're in your 20s. It's like what music did for me. I want to be able to provide that for someone else because that to me is the my greatest reason for living is to provide for someone else what other people provide me. So basically, give back, but to do it in a way that's like I'm proud of. And this record, has somehow achieved that. And I don't, it took me till I was fucking 50 years old to make that happen. But this is literally the first time I've ever had my own music on wax. Like I've been in, I don't, in countless bands. I've been part of like 6 or 7 records, and EPs and stuff. But, you know, so for this, it's finally happening. It's kind of I don't know, it's the best thing ever. I want everybody to hear it. So thank you for giving me a chance to talk to you and help spread that even just a little bit. If anybody hears this, if one person hears this, it's the best. Please go listen to my fucking record.
Thanks for coming on, Mark.
Thank you so much.
So the conversation, I'm glad Mark really pitched the whole thing at the very end because sometimes we get so wrapped up in talking about everything else and having a conversation and having some laughs that we kind of lose track that, yeah, we're supposed to be talking about a record. And, the fact is, he has had a lot of experience. He's had a lot of things that have happened. And we've talked pop culture, we talked all sorts of things. And there's nothing wrong with that because I want you guys to get to know the artist. And that's one of the things about the show, and we've talked about it before. The music is a big deal, and you can go on numerous podcasts to talk to and find out about the music and what inspired the music. But you can't always find out about the artist. And I think that, and I feel that you need to get to know the person behind it. What drove it? I mean, it's true. When he was talking about the song Your Uncertain Shadow, it's true. We all have those thoughts and I don't lie that yeah, when when I got my diagnosis, it wasn't that I wanted to off myself. If anything, I was terrified of dying. But there was the thought because of all that's going on in the world that yeah, well, maybe there's that exit. And I know you're like, "Well, why is she saying there's this exit?" Because I too, at some point, believe that we can choose to leave or we can choose to stay. And the reason I say this is, when my father had his heart attack and stroke, he had an ejection fraction of 17%. I got a phone call. He was most likely not going to make it. Da da da. He's still here today. And that was 2017. So I think if we are prepared to go and we're ready to go, we will. And sometimes people do slip through the cracks because, like, the one guest I had on the show, we talked about that, how she's been through life review 3 times because she passed, she died on the table, but she was sent back. So when it is our time, truly our time, in most cases, we will leave. And sometimes we leave a little early, but then we still have to make that choice. Do we want to go? And, I can look back as a younger person and think about how I wrote this piece about lying on my floor and nobody killed me, but yet everybody did because I felt so alone. And was I thinking suicide? No, but in my mind, it kind of felt that way. And I think for me, suicide was never an option because there was a doctor right after my mom died. I took my grandmother to see a counselor. And this counselor tells me, "Oh, well, right off the bat when we walk in the room, well, you're more you have a tendency to lead more towards committing suicide because your mother did it." And I never went back because it's like, how can you say that? How can you lump me in without even really talking to me and saying that? Because it's not right. You don't know that about me. And one of the things, I look at, and even when I've had my moments going through this thing, because yes, I've had my days where it's just like, well, life is over, da da da. Life keeps going. Life is going to change. Some days are going to be great, some days are not. I mean, everybody thought the Pope had rallied, and today we logged in and the Pope is gone. And it's not that I'm we talked about religion. I'm not a hardcore Christian here, but the fact of the matter is, one day you can be here and the next you can be gone. And you have to actually, whether you have those thoughts, you try to push them away. And yes, look at the people around you who actually really, really do care about you that you may not see. But realize that even in your darkest moment, that there is a new day, that tomorrow could bring something better. It could bring something worse. But the thing is, it's always evolving. We're always closing out cycles. We're always moving forward. So trust that life is going to be better and own it and know it. So, on that note, I'd like to thank Fast Susie for the intro and outro music. Rich Zai is kind of taking a little bit of a break for a bit, and that's okay. Um, but I thank him for all that he's done. And I thank Ray from Ray BPR, which normally I don't do, but since we were talking so much about Ray, he does have an episode on the podcast that you can listen to. And well, I'd like to thank you guys, all the people that tune in and listen. I really do appreciate it. And, whether it be morning, noon, or night, I hope you enjoy your day. And I'll catch you next time, guys. Oh, but wait. Yes, I do have a wig. And you may see other wigs. And that's okay because if I take off the wig, I have very short hair, which if you've seen my Instagram, you'll see it. And it's thinning even more. So I have hair. May not be mine, but it's fun. So anyway, on that note, I thank you guys for tuning in and I'll catch you next time. Bye.